Welcome to the Mom and podcast. We're your hosts, Suzanne Kearns
and Missy Stevens. We want to help you through everything that happens in the ellipses, from your professional life to your emotional health.
You're a mom and so much more. Let's figure out what comes next together. Welcome to the Mom and podcast. I'm Suzanne Kearns, a mom and writer, LGBTQ advocate, and this week, a math camp chauffeur.
And I'm Missy Stevens, mom and writer, foster child advocate, and today, flying spoon dodger. I will tell you about that later.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're lucky I'm alive. Just kidding. All right. Today, we are so excited to welcome Jillian Banky, mom and marketer, event manager, and founder of Mom Camp, a media and events company that empowers moms to live their best lives. Jillian also hosts the Mom Camp Around the Campfire podcast. She is a busy mom of two who cares deeply about helping other moms feel better, both mentally and physically. She believes that motherhood does not equal exhaustion, and that it is possible to thrive mentally, emotionally, physically, and professionally. She is a passionate problem solver and loves connecting people with the right solutions that will improve their lives and work. Welcome, Jillian. We need you.
Thank you so much. Yes. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
We do need you, and and share all those values. I feel like everything you read is like, check. Yep, we love that. We love that. We love that. So we're so glad to have you here. And I know that we are avid listeners to your podcast, but for people who haven't listened to that or aren't as familiar with you, could you kick things off with a little Jillian 101 about your family, your podcast, your camp, and all the things?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I'll try and keep it succinct. So I am a mom of two. I have a 14-year-old son and an 11-year-old daughter. I live near Vancouver, Canada, and I work full-time it used to be marketing. Now it's really event management, community relations. We plan very large events in Vancouver. We have Canada Day, which is a July 1st event here, kind of like Independence Day. And our event typically brings in about 250,000 people. So it's a big one. And so that's sort of my day job. And then, as you mentioned, I'm also the founder of Mom Camp, and I call it a media and events company, but that feels like so corporate. It's basically, there's the podcast, and then I host these retreats for moms. They're weekend retreats. It's called Mom Camp, the camp, and it's very much like summer camp, but for moms, with wine and personal development speakers and all of the soul-filling activities I can think of to slam into a weekend. So yeah, that's sort of me in a nutshell.
Oh, well, we love your philosophies, and starting with Mom Camp, of course, but we really love that you say you can create a life that you don't need a break from. And I think so many of our listeners and the two of us have we've heard from them, and we say to each other, like, I just need a break.
Yeah.
I just need a little time off. But really, you say we can juggle all of this. So can you talk a little bit about how you came to believe that we didn't have to take a break?
For sure. And I do think we need breaks. So, but we should take breaks.
Yeah.
I want to sort of correct that. I want us to live a life where we don't need one, that we want to escape from our lives and leave everything behind. Right.
I like that.
do think we get to take breaks, but it's that same kind of language around I need a drink versus I would like a drink. Right. Like it's that same sort of thing. So, okay. So where this all came from for me, I was near burnout. And it was in 2018, and we were just a few weeks away from our major event. And it was also transitioning out of the end of school. And so there were a lot of big feelings in my house going on.
Yep.
And with those come big behaviors. And we had a not so awesome morning, and I was driving to work. And I was just like, I just want to get away. And it was that need, right? I want to get away. I want to go into the woods. I want to read my books. I want to drink my wine. I want to eat good food and just have no other obligations and just be. And I said, I want to go to camp. And then I was like, oh my God, Mom Camp. And so in the busiest time of my year, I devised an entire business plan in the 10 minutes left in my ride to work. So I had this idea for this 2-night retreat, and then sanity took over and I had to go back to doing my main thing. And it was a few months later, and I was at a personal development conference And one of the speakers was speaking about making a difference. And I'd been kind of bummed because everybody around me was having breakthroughs. And I knew this
Mm.
mom camp thing was a thing in my head. And everybody around me for the 3 days of the conference was like, oh my God, I have so much clarity. I know exactly what I'm going home to. Like, I'm so on fire. And I was like, hey, you, I still don't know. And then Trent Shelton was the speaker on stage, and he said something about making a difference. And it was just like this very clear, sometimes I call it a beam of light. Like it was just a download from the universe, which I don't have that often, but I heard super clearly Mom Camp isn't about creating a place to run away from your life. It's about creating a life you don't want to run away from. So then that's where the
Magic.
podcast came from. That's where like all the platform, all the posts I do on social is about putting your health first, getting yourself back on your priority list, knowing that there are ways to increase your energy and set boundaries and know what's super clear for you with your priorities. And then if you have that clarity, it's okay to say no to things because you know what matters most. Like all of
Yeah.
those things just came from that moment. And then people said, okay, awesome, but we still want to go to camp. So, so camp does still exist. And we had our first one in November 2019. And then we were hit by a global pandemic and I haven't been able to have one again. So more to come on that. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's sort of where it all came from.
Oh,
I'm
awesome.
taking us on a tiny bunny trail and then we'll come back to the point, I
Okay.
promise. But were
That's
you a
fine.
summer camper? Like, did you grow up going to summer camp?
So it's not really a thing here in Vancouver. I went to like a
Interesting.
week-long camp through our church.
Yeah.
But that was really my only experience. Like I know in Ontario, kids will go for 2 months or a month
Yeah.
and they'll like, I don't even know what that would be like. Like, and I watched
Ooh.
all the movies. Like I was obsessed with Parent Trap, the original, like
Yeah.
way back when. Like any of those summer, even what is it, Camp Rock with
Oh,
Demi
yeah.
Lovato, Joe Jonas, like all of anything that has like that retro summer camp vibe where you sleep in the cabins and they have
Yep.
names like Camp Arapaho or like, I
Yeah.
I have some sort of nostalgia for those, even though
Same.
I've never actually been to that. That's
Yep.
it.
Maybe that's why I want to go so bad. I've never been to a camp. My husband was
Yeah.
a camp counselor at this amazing camp back in Pennsylvania or something. And he would go and he went to the camp for years and years. And then he became the counselor and was there. And it was this big thing that when our kids get to be this certain age, we're going to send them back
Yeah.
there, even though we live in Texas now. And they're going to go to the same camp because I think the camp is still one of the campers actually recently bought it from the
Oh,
owners.
amazing.
Oh,
And
that's
it's
so
just
cool.
they went back, I think about 10 years ago or so and had a reunion, all these campers. And
Fun.
So yeah, my husband and I met at a summer camp.
No
And
way.
we
Did you
it wasn't
really?
like, yeah, and it wasn't like the big long go for months at a time. It was
Right.
one where kids came for a week at a time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we worked there together when we were in college and we were on the
Oh,
permanent like summer. So we were there all summer as the kids rotated in and
amazing.
out. So
oh,
I
that's
love
Yeah,
so
summer.
there's just something
sweet.
pure about it. Like it's
Yeah.
that like childhood idyllic thing
Mhm.
where you have those growth, like that's actually part of it is the growth experiences that you have when you go away to camp
Yep.
and you make new friends that are friends for life and like you go through something together. And
Mhm.
that's kind of what I hoped would happen at mom camp and absolutely did happen at camp.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh, we're definitely going, Missy. We are so
Yep.
going.
It's on our bucket list. Big
nice.
So
time.
now,
I would
for
love that.
since we're not at the mom camp right now, I'd love if you could give us a little bit of insight into how some of the lessons that either you brought to the camp or that you get from the camp you have integrated into your day-to-day life. And how do you approach your days? Is it a time management thing? Is it a gratitude practice thing? There's all these really great things to integrate and weave into your life that help make it one that is so fulfilling that you don't feel like you have to escape it. And just really curious, which ones have you incorporated most into your own life?
For sure. And over the years, it's been quite a few. First and foremost, I make my health a priority. And that started probably 11 years ago after my daughter was born. I sort of embraced health and fitness and nutrition and just kind of got myself back on track.
Yeah.
Whatever that track is. But I started
Yeah.
to make my health a priority. And then that has evolved into understanding the importance of sleep. And so prioritizing sleep. hydration, all of the sort of basic things for health. That's sort of the foundational thing, because things like drinking enough water in a day will impact your energy levels.
Mhm.
Things like getting a good night's sleep and not hitting the snooze button, because I don't know if
Oh.
you've heard this, but when you hit the snooze button, you go back into a new sleep cycle, and a sleep cycle can last 90 to 110 minutes. This is a bit of a tangent I'm
Ooh.
on.
Oh,
And
take it.
when you hit snooze, it can impact your brain function for up to 4 hours.
What?
When I learned that, I was like, I'm done. I can't lose brain function for 4 hours. And so I have
No.
limited capacity as it is.
Right. There's
So
not that many hours to begin with. 4 of them need to be
exactly.
functional. Yeah.
Exactly. So I've eliminated the snooze button. So it's things like that that I make foundational behaviors, because I know they will improve my energy and give me the energy I need to do the things I want to do. So that's first and foremost. Then I talked a little bit about this, but about priorities. I reached pretty much burnout actually before I formed Mom Camp. The year before, we had the biggest event we'd ever had. It was for the 150th birthday of the Canada government structure, if you want to call it that.
Mhm.
And it it nearly did me in. I had given everything to my job and nothing to my
Mhm.
family. And I went through a process, and now I call it Priority Mom. But I went through a process where I went through, there was like a list of like 60 things, and I picked the top 10 that mattered most to me, that I considered my personal priorities for life. And there were things on the list like financial security, recognition, financial freedom, love, family, sexual pleasure. Like there were like all of these different things on
Mhm.
the list. And I chose family, health, and fun. And then the next step in the process is you go and you look at your week or your month and you say,
Yeah.
how much time did I actually spend in furtherance or support of any of those three things? Right. Because you pick 10 and then you go to three. And I could only say at that point that maybe 2% of my day was spent in support of those things.
Wow.
And yeah, it wasn't awesome. I was like barely doing the health stuff. And
Yeah.
I was really not like, I was there with my family. I was there with my family, but
Physically.
like physically,
Yeah.
but I wasn't there for my family.
Mhm.
Right.
Mm.
And fun. I mean, if hysteria, because I was laughing a lot because we were in such an extreme situation, but it wasn't fun, like
Fun.
soul filling fun, right?
Right.
And so that's when I
Right.
started to say no to a lot of things. That's when I started to say, actually, no, like we're not going to take that on. I made the whole next year's theme to simplify. And I
Mm.
said, we're saying no to a lot of things. If we say yes to things, we're doing them as simply as possible. We're just going for what's manageable and doing that really, really well, as opposed to being that team that took on all the things. And then I did the
Right.
same thing in my home life. Right. So,
Was your family on board?
oh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't even necessarily announce it to them. I just
Mm.
got a heck of a lot more present, and they could
Wow.
see that I was a lot more fun.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. And something similar happened in June this year that could not be helped. I'm going to go on another tangent.
We
There's
love
a
tangents.
whole bunch of opinions right now about Canada Day, July 1st, and the history of
Okay.
Mm.
Canada because
Mhm.
of the history of oppression and atrocities against Indigenous peoples.
Yes.
And so, like, I don't know if you saw in the news, discovery of remains at residential
Yep.
schools and all
Oh,
of this
yes.
stuff came out
Yes.
June 1st, and our virtual event broadcast was supposed to be July 1st. And so I didn't sleep. I
Mm.
worked. I took calls at 10 o'clock at night. I was sending
Mm.
emails at 5:30 in the morning. Like we had to pivot, and we had to pivot fast, and we had to do it right or not do it at all.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, but I did say this time, sorry, this is to bring this back to your question. I said to my family, I'm not going to be super present until this is done. I am here. I love you. If you need me, come get me. But otherwise, mommy's doing this, right? Because I had to set that expectation.
Yeah.
And they knew, like, I mean, I was crying a lot of the time because it was so
Aw.
heavy
Yeah.
and
Oh.
so stressful. Um, so yeah, so I did sort of set that expectation for the family, but we also knew that there was an end date, right? So
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And I think there's a lot of value in them watching you go through that, watching you
Mhm.
manage it
Yeah.
and learn from it. And
Yeah. Well, and we
That's
come
talked
out
a
the other
lot.
side.
Like I sort of helped them understand what had happened in our country and how to
Yeah.
move through it from what I was learning. So it was an incredible month. But I took the week off afterwards, after it was all put to bed and sort of
Yeah.
recovered and spent time with the family and,
Yeah.
you know, came
Well, you
back to
had said
center.
that June was a really crazy month for you, but I did not really put
Yeah.
together why.
Right.
So yeah.
It
Yes,
was
I did not do the
really
2 and
hard.
2 of that. Yeah,
Mhm.
It was really
that's a
hard.
lot.
Yeah.
But what
Yeah.
wonderful coping skills to model for your kids, or if
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
even if you did not feel like you were coping, you were, sharing
It
that with
seems like
them.
you
And
did.
it's yes, it's
Yeah. I did okay. I did
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
But then I do
And
also, I'm not going to say it's a daily practice, but I do practice gratitude. Back to your other question, I will say that that has been pivotal because
yep.
it's like when you're shopping for a red car and then all you see is red cars, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
When you make gratitude a regular practice, I won't say it's daily, but it's become sort of just ingrained now. And I'm just a more grateful person now because I
Mhm.
was making it a daily practice.
Mm-hmm.
When I even just a little thing, like I'm so grateful that I had a peaceful cup of tea this morning as I looked out my window, or I'm so
Yep.
grateful for that chat I had with my daughter, or I'm so grateful that this great thing happened at work, right? The more
Mm-hmm.
grateful you are, the more things you see to be grateful for, the more things you have to be grateful for.
Yep.
So I absolutely believe in practicing gratitude whenever you can, even if it starts super small because you're in a really hard season and you don't know how to find something, you
Mm-hmm.
start small, right?
Yes, it's been coming up. Actually, I've been saying the universe has been thumping me on the head about
Mhm.
needing to do a gratitude practice. And I have found, and maybe it is kind of like you're saying now that I'm looking for it, it's like the red car.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing it everywhere. I can't go online without finding an article or hearing it on a
Right.
podcast or reading it in a book. And it's just, I finally got to the point a couple weeks ago. I was like, okay, I get it, universe. I need a gratitude practice, but it keeps coming at me, probably because I'm
Yeah.
still not doing it. But
Well,
yes,
even
it's
just like a Post-it on your bathroom mirror that says, "Today I'm
mm.
grateful for." It's just a
Oh,
thought starter. And then when you go in to brush your teeth, you see it and you go,
Yeah. What is it?
grateful for
Yeah.
good tasting toothpaste. Like, it could be
Yeah.
anything, right?
that's
I've
great.
noticed this is not a gratitude focused podcast, but I think it
Mhm.
is a huge piece of what we're trying to help moms do.
Mhm.
And I've noticed in our house, I've been putting into practice some of the things we've talked with other guests about. And one of them is just modeling that gratitude.
Mhm.
And I have one child who is predisposed to the not gratitude side. he's
Yeah.
he's just it's just his personality. He can find the thing wrong
Yeah.
really fast. And so I noticed that it's a challenge for him. And I haven't said like, tell me one thing you're grateful for, but I have
Mhm.
started going, oh, today this thing happened and I loved it. It was great.
Yeah.
And then somebody else at the table will say, oh yeah, this is a great thing happened to me today. And he sits kind of like,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
It's getting
anything
in there.
good, but yeah, and every once
Yeah.
in a while he'll be like, yeah, I like to practice today. I'm like, all right, like,
There you go.
we'll
Well,
take
we
it.
say
Is
we say,
that?
"How was your day?" And then they're like, "Good," whatever. And then we say, "What was the best part of your day today?"
That's a good one.
And then they have to just get a little more specific. And it's
Yeah.
never academics, but it's
Never. No. Yeah, at our house it's usually lunch
yeah.
or maybe practice, or
Yeah.
it's rarely math class. Yeah,
No, exactly.
yes.
Exactly. My
Oh,
daughter did say it one time because she had done really well on a quiz. And so she was
there you
like,
go.
that was the best part of my day.
Yeah,
So yeah. Yeah.
Well,
we'll
that's
take it.
always good.
Mhm.
But then I assume over time they'll start to look for, like, they'll be prepared. Like, I know they're going to
Mhm.
ask me what the best part of my day was. So,
Yes.
and then they'll
So
just
make
start
that
seeing
Exactly.
good things.
train them to think about
Exactly.
it throughout the day because they're
Yeah.
like, okay, mom's going to be asking me, what do I need to have
Yeah.
ready?
And hopefully they'll
Exactly.
be like, oh my gosh, there were so many good things.
Yes. Well, and that's
Yeah.
sort of the thing is like the more you realize you have or see, I'm going to say realize because I don't want people to think that they weren't seeing it, but the more you see you have to be grateful for, the more gratitude you feel, the more energy you and joy you have for your life, which is part of creating that life you don't need a break
Yep.
from.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Like
love it.
that's, yeah.
And speaking of having enough of this energy in your life, you must have a lot of it because you have this full-time job. And so, do you do coaching, one-on-one coaching as well?
I do, but only when I have capacity for it.
Okay,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
you make that call for yourself, and
Yeah.
then you run the mom camp. You've got the family. So I'm just we love nuts and bolts tips. So as
Sure.
far as what do you use as a scheduler, or
Hmm.
how do
Hmm.
you get really intentional about your time? Because I'm
Hmm.
sure every minute is important. So you can't waste a single one.
It is for sure. And I'll start with sort of an umbrella statement because I am blessed to have a job I enjoy and a team that I love to work with. So going to work or signing on to work during the day can be very, very stressful for sure. But I really enjoy the people I work with and I enjoy the work I get to do. So that is
Mhm.
a gift because I know not
Yeah.
everybody's in that situation.
Yeah.
So I have energy for that because I'm fueled by my enjoyment of my work and the people.
Mhm.
I was told because I'm not sure. I think I'm an ambivert.
Mhm.
So I'm an introverted extrovert or an extroverted introvert or whatever. Like I can be very, as you can see right now, I can be very extroverted and I have a theater background and like I'm a big personality, but I also really need downtime to recover.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And, so like watching a movie with my family is just my favorite thing at the end of the day to just decompress. And my brain shuts down at 9 p.m. So I get up in the morning at about 5:30. I do some of the mom camp work because there's some things that I can do that don't need like creative brain, right? But then
Right.
as I start doing those little pieces, creative brain kind of kicks in. Then I do my
I
workout
like that.
and I do work out in the morning because it will not happen if I do it any other time of the day.
Same.
I do drink a pre-workout drink, which helps me sort of because then it's actually a mind trick because I could just keep going with my day and not work out after I've drank that, but there's something about it that you get these little tingles and then you kind of feel like you have to work out before it wears off. So some days I do not want to work out.
What's in that drink?
Yeah.
I know. I'm like, I need this recipe.
Yeah. And then I love the mom camp stuff. So I'm not going to start a business for accounting because that is not my jam. Like I
Yeah.
would only do this if it brought me this much joy and fulfillment,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
I love it. So it makes me want to do it and I get
Yeah.
energy from it. So the
Yeah.
activities I'm doing in the day are actually giving me energy. So it's not that I have some magic recipe and I don't actually I drink tea. I drink 1, maybe 2 cups of tea a day, but I don't drink coffee. I drink a ton of water. So my biggest tip is to find work and hobbies that energize you and bring you joy, because
Mhm.
then you will naturally be energized, if that sort of
Yeah.
helps. Then when it comes to
So
scheduling, I live and die by my to-do lists because I will forget if it's not written down. I live and die by my Google Calendar. We
yes.
have family calendars. So each of our kids have and we've done this since they were little. So once they were in like the swimming class for babies or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
We
yeah,
would
yeah.
put it under Hannah's calendar. So we would know if it was yellow,
Smart.
it was Hannah. And if it was blue, it was Jordan. And then the same thing has happened now, like that they're older and they have their own things. Those things go
Mhm.
under their calendar. We have our meal planning calendar that we put whatever the dinner is for that day on the calendar. So we've got some systems in place that
Yeah, you
help.
do.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's like that calendar is on all of, well, not all of, both of, because like our kids don't have phones yet, but my husband's phone, my phone, and like I can see where he is or what's we've got on the schedule for that day and we just plan accordingly. We're also lucky that he works from home. He has his own business. He's a DJ. And so we have some flexibility there.
Mhm.
Um, and he also loves to cook. So as long as we plan the meals, he's fine to cook. And then I
That's
Oh,
cook.
my house too.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm so
It's
grateful.
amazing.
But then I cook on weekends is our new thing
Oh, I
because
like it.
it's funny. My love language is words of affirmation. His is he hasn't told me this, but I've done the work. His is acts of service,
Mhm.
100%. So me cooking on weekends, that
Speaks
goes
to
to,
him.
yeah, really does. Yeah. So I don't know if I
I
answered
love
the
it.
question in
Oh, you
full.
you
totally did. We
did.
were
You
talking earlier, and I'm like, I
did.
think she might be the world's most organized woman.
I'm
And
really
I
not.
was like, let's
I'm
find
really
out.
not.
I think you
That's
are. I don't know. You sound pretty organized.
no, like if I don't have a to-do list though,
Right.
I'm not organized. Like I will get off track faster than anybody you've ever seen.
Oh,
But
gosh.
I am driven to do like also accountability. If
Yeah.
I that's something like I build in accountability. So whether it be my team at work or the fact that I am out there in public with mom camp, and if I don't do the things I've committed to doing, like releasing a podcast every Monday, then I feel
Right.
a personal sense that I've gone against what
Mhm.
I've committed to. So those things kind of drive me as well.
And I'm so glad you mentioned the podcast because that was going to be my next question. Because,
Yeah.
gosh, are you in the triple digits now? You're up there as
You know
far as,
what? I was supposed to check last week. I could be at 100 episodes now. I have to
Awesome.
actually check.
if not, you're pretty darn close. So that is as two people who
Yeah.
are like in the episodes in the 20s where
Yeah, I think this one will
we
be
bow
in
to
the
you.
30s, like
Are
when
we
it airs. I
finally in
think
the
it'll be
Yeah.
episode
30s?
30 something.
I will go back and
Yes.
check because I was 8 away, I think, last time I checked, but then June happened. So I'm not actually sure
Oh,
if I
yeah.
hit
Right.
100 or not. But
Oh
I've
my
released
gosh.
them. I started with 4 and I've released one every single week since then.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
with 100 interviews, you've talked to a lot of women doing amazing things
Mhm.
with their lives, facing a lot of different challenges. And I'm just
Mhm.
curious if you've seen any trends or themes or common threads going through the stories of what women today are facing and dealing with.
Absolutely. I mean, I think everybody is, well, especially in the last year and a half, but everybody is feeling the weight
Mhm.
and the overwhelm, and whether they have figured out a way to get through it or whether they are in it. Everybody has that sort of common bond of those expectations around motherhood, the comparison trap,
Yeah.
imposter syndrome, all of those things where we all feel it. So part of my thing is talking about it so that people know they're not the only one. Right? Because if you see somebody looking perfect on Instagram, for example, and then you think, "Oh god, I'm less than," but that person
Yeah.
actually isn't perfect and they're having just the same struggles as you are or
Yeah.
completely different or harder struggles, right? So I try
Right.
and normalize the hard stuff. Uh, so yeah. Yeah, I've seen
Yeah, no
that.
one posts when they're crying in the closet.
No,
They
and if
probably
they
should, but
well, and some do, and
Yeah.
some do it performatively, and then some
right.
do it authentically, and I will do it, but I will only do that type of share if I've also come to a place of resolution and I can share what helped, right?
I
Like
like that.
it's um yeah. So the other thing, you listen to the podcast so but I ask all my guests how they define balance for themselves and their family.
Mhm.
And I always sort of give it this caveat of like, or do you? Because balance is a bit of a buzzword. And it's been really fascinating. There is a book in my future that takes all of those answers and puts
Mm,
them into the lessons learned because it's been beautiful. Most people do not believe in balance when you think of it as like a perfect balance between like the scales of justice image or
right.
something like that, right?
Yeah.
But the different definitions from flow to harmony and the idea of voices singing together and like just really incredible ways of thinking about what the replacement for balance is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
how
one of
when
my
you know
favorite
you're kind of
answers
out.
One of my favorite answers was about the intentionality. So this idea that it wasn't necessarily a balance, but the
Yeah.
things that you're doing on
Mhm.
purpose and for a
Yes.
reason. And
Yeah.
because I think that's where things can just kind of whirl out of control
Oh, yeah.
sometimes.
Sometimes life
Especially
just happens to us instead of us out there actually doing it.
yes.
Absolutely. Well, it's like June when I was absolutely 100% out of balance.
Yeah.
Everything was on this project. I had maybe 10% for me, the family, the garden, like all of the
Right.
things, right?
Anything. Yeah.
And but I knew that's what had to happen. So I
Right.
managed it in a way that I knew I would be able to come back, you know?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's so huge for people to start wrapping their heads around. And I'm talking to myself too, that rarely are we going to go through periods of time where you can say, I am perfectly balanced. I do this much
Hmm.
work and this much family, and I get this sleep and this exercise, and I'm just zooming along. Like
Hmm.
there are times in our life where work is more, and there are days where you have a ton of you time for whatever reason, or you've
Hmm.
crafted that out. It's not equal all the time. It just has to
No.
be harmonious. I love the idea of harmony. Like it has.
Yeah. Well, and the thing I loved about, I can't remember who was it, but because a couple of people have said harmony, but this one specifically was the idea that if you have a choir and all the voices singing together in harmony, but then if one singer needs a breath, they can drop out and the other voices come in to keep the notes going. And it was this
Mhm.
beautiful visual and sort of a feeling of like, oh, it's
Yeah.
okay to have voices drop out and come back in when they're ready. Right? Like
Right. And the
it was
listeners
lovely.
you don't hear that. You don't hear the voice drop out in a whole
Exactly.
perfectly choir that's in
Yeah.
unison. You don't hear that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. I will say balance or whatever we want to call it has been easier during the pandemic because I've been working from home
Mhm.
and I have felt more of that harmony.
Yeah.
Apart from June, I have felt more of
Mhm.
that ease and
Mhm.
ability to run out at lunch and water my veggie garden or, whatever it might be.
Mhm.
Sorry, I'm a little obsessed with my veggie garden.
I have
And,
one green pepper that I'm obsessed with right now.
it's the
That's
one
all
thing
I
I couldn't
have.
grow. I have a pepper plant, but there are no peppers on it.
Me too.
So,
I have a
Oh,
naked pepper. He's happy
It's this
with
big.
no
It's
peppers.
this big.
so yeah, but having that ability to sort of take those moments for myself has given me more sense of ease. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can feel my anxiety ticking up because
Mm,
in theory, we're going back to school. Things are
yeah.
it's looking like we are going back to school. But I see that, well, I don't even want to call it normalcy. There's nothing normal anymore. But I see that return to more structure and
Yeah.
to relearn how to find some balance
Yeah. Well, we just both
outside
said
of it.
both of our husbands have our first work trips
Oh,
coming up. My
wow.
husband's going to New York for a big company meeting. And yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, it was very weird because I was trying to do like this back to school final bash of summer. I call it our final bash. We've had zero bashes. We've done
Right.
nothing.
It's your bash.
It's the
We-
bash.
it's not even a bash. I was just telling Missy, I am spending about the price of a trip to Disneyland to take my kids to some mediocre Airbnb in Fredericksburg, like an hour away. But it's all that was available.
Yeah.
And we just have to get out of here. Like I would have
Yes.
paid $2,000 a night to just like
Yeah.
skip me out.
Get
Just
out.
a change of
Yep.
scenery for these poor kids.
Yeah.
But it was really weird because the dates that I had set aside, I thought, oh, for sure, these weekdays, they're nice and cheap. I'll do those. And my husband's like, oh, no, I'm going to New York. And I was like, what? What?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
this isn't happening again. We haven't had
Yeah.
to think about travel in
Right.
Yeah.
a year and a
Right.
half. And he used to
Things have been pretty
travel like half the
simple.
time. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
and I'm taking my
Yeah.
son to this math camp that started this week, and it's revving the kids, trying to get their brains back in,
Yeah.
get the momentum going before school starts. And it's the first time he's been in the
Yeah.
classroom for a year and a half.
Wow. Our kids were in school in person for the whole school year, which I didn't agree with at first. Our numbers were rising, but that's a whole other thing.
Right.
But they were in person in school for the whole school year that's just ended. And so they had that sense of normalcy. Nothing else
that's
was
nice.
normal, but they had
Yeah,
that.
that's nice.
So,
Oh, that's
mhm.
so
Yeah, I
nice.
had one that didn't go at all, and
Wow.
I mean, he did virtual. He was going to school, I should say. He just didn't go to the building.
Yeah.
And then one that went halfway through the year, but I still feel like there were so many other things not happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just didn't feel like a typical year. And I think,
No.
in theory, we're heading into a typical year. With the numbers flying up, maybe some things will be different. I don't know.
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
know.
You guys aren't doing great.
Welcome
Not
to Texas
Doing
and
great.
America. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's that independent spirit is biting some people in the
Well,
butt.
because we opened our borders to you guys as of August. We
You're
said,
thinking about
okay.
closing those down again?
Well,
Yeah,
no,
you might want to
like
lock
they,
those.
I know. Well, they just announced, like, yeah, as of August 9th or something.
Yeah.
That I'm not sure when this will air, but as of August 9th, you guys can come up if you're double vax. But then the states has just said, yeah, Canadians can't come. Like, they're like, we're
so
we're locking down,
ridiculous.
and I'm like, that should be our decision because you guys are way worse off than we are.
Yeah.
God, and I
We have
really want to
such
go to
double
Trader Joe's and
standards.
Target. But anyway,
Oh my God. Our country's motto should just be double standards for
yeah.
all. That's
Uh,
that's
I know.
that's
That is, again,
ours.
is another podcast, but
Yep. Yep.
It is another podcast. Okay, but no, okay, we're getting pretty close to the look, listen,
yes.
learns. But Missy, I know you had
Hmm.
another question you wanted to ask before we do that.
We've talked a little bit about the Mom Camp event, but you have the
Hmm.
Mom Camp Ignite membership community.
Hmm.
So I want people
Hmm.
to know what that entails, where to
Sure.
find it.
Yeah.
Just give us the scoop.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So, Mom Camp Ignite came out of the pandemic and I couldn't have these live in person events. We tried a couple of virtual camps where I'd have an evening with like a panel of speakers and it was good, but it just wasn't quite enough to
Yeah.
be sustaining. And I wanted something that would help moms spend some time on themselves, because it's really hard to do that, but something that would reignite their spark. So that's why it's
Hmm.
called Ignite, right? It's really doing something for them, remembering what matters, putting their health on their priority list, putting themselves on their priority list first and
Yeah.
foremost, and then finding ways to reignite their spark. Kind of like some of the stuff we've been talking about today, right? So, what it
Mm.
is, it's a monthly membership. There's a Facebook group for the community aspects. I sort of post some stuff each day and like health reminders or thought provoking questions. I hope they're thought provoking. But then once a month, we have a guest speaker come in and talk about a topic. So we've had stress management, we've had decluttering, we've had sexual
Mm.
health. That was a really fiery one and it was really fun. Um, we've
Mm.
had confidence, self compassion, a whole bunch of things, a whole bunch of things. It launched in November last year. And so
Super cool.
once a month, we do this call on Zoom and then the replay goes into the group. I've also put basically every program or course or tool or resource that I've ever created into the membership portal for the members to have access to. And we talk about those every now and then. And then I am now starting as of September because I had this influx of speakers. And so now I'm going to be doing pop up speakers in the Facebook group once a month. So
So
there'll be the
cool.
call, but then there'll also be an additional expert in the group once a month on a shorter presentation. So I'm really excited about where it's growing
Yeah.
and it's community. It's so fun to get on the calls and have women from Maryland and Toronto and Vancouver and all over
Yeah.
North Carolina and just have them have the same experiences. Like say, "Oh my
Right.
god, your kid does that too? Your kid has ADHD too? Does your kid do this? Oh my god." I feel like it's that connection and
Hmm.
feeling not alone and being connected to others, really. And plus the speakers are amazing and it's always thought provoking and it sort of helps people build new habits and things like that. And we also
Yeah.
added a book club because I'm very passionate about personal development books.
Hmm.
And I know this will lead into the next question, but I'm very passionate about them. And I was talking about them one day and I had all these recommendations and they were like, you need to form a book club because you like specifically for personal development books. So we have that in the group too. Once a month, I give away a copy of the book I've chosen for the month. And then if people are in and ready and available, summer's been hard, we do a
Summer's
call
hard.
about the book. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun. I'm trying not to
That's
overload with
amazing.
too many things, right? Like I don't want it to be like, and you have a call here, and you have a call here, because that's not going to
Yes.
help any mom. So
Right.
I'm trying to keep it really manageable. But it's monthly, or you can sign up for the year. It's $19 a month. You save 2 months if you sign up for the year. And you
That's
can
great.
find out about it at momcamplife.com/ignite.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
was going to be my next question. And so, and where's for all the socials? Where's your favorite place to link up with people on social media?
Probably Instagram now. I used to be diehard Facebook all day, but
Mhm.
really, I'm really loving Instagram. I'm on both equally. But I tend to send people to my Instagram. If I'm going to do a story, it's going to be on Instagram. It's not going to be
Yeah.
on Facebook stories. So at Mom
Great.
Camp Life.
At Mom Camp Life.
All
Perfect.
right. We'll put all that in the show notes.
All right.
Yeah.
So is
So
it
should
time
we
for
look, listen, learn?
I think we should look, listen,
I think you
learn.
have a self-development book for us.
I
Yeah, and
do.
just in case this is anybody's first time listening to this show, though, just to let you know what Look, Listen, Learn is, it's when we talk about things that we have either been reading or watching, or look could actually be a piece of artwork. That's what we went over last week.
Yeah.
So, and then listening could be podcasts, or it could be music that you like, and learning could be classes, or in some of our cases, just a really great shampoo or or eye gel
Yeah.
that we've learned about. So, so yeah, let's
Clearly good
dive
news today.
in. Jillian, I would love, because I know you got a book I want to hear
I
about. So
have a book
please
and I
start.
have a show and it's connected to a podcast. So the book that I am going to talk about is called Dying to be a Good Mother: How I Dropped the Guilt and Took Control of My Parenting and My Life by Heather Chauvin. And she has the Mom is in Control podcast. And
Ah,
this book is phenomenal. Her podcast is phenomenal, but she is all about that sort of, what does it mean to be a good mother and the pressure we put on ourselves. And she actually was dying. She was in stage 4 cancer and she has come through it and she is healthy now. But
wow.
she was not taking care of herself because of all the things she thought it meant to be a good mother. She was
Mm,
the epitome of self-sacrifice. And she actually defines self-sacrifice in it about, when you sacrifice yourself, you're essentially giving your life. And then you're not showing up as your best self. You are showing up as
yeah.
a depleted version that's given away half of you. And if you want to be there for your family, you want to show up as your best self, right? And your most fullest self. So it's a really great book. And it's this, she also has it on Audible. So I'm almost finished it. I've been listening and reading, and I
Yeah.
had her on my
That's good.
podcast that'll be coming out soon. But I really recommend it. Dying to be a Good Mother.
Oh, I can't wait to read that.
Mhm.
Yes.
And then, do you want me to tell you my show?
Yeah. What's your
Yes.
show?
We're always looking for new
So,
shows.
you guys are in Texas. So, okay, let me actually tell you the podcast first. So, for fun, as release, guilty pleasure, I listen to Rob Lowe's podcast. It's called Literally. And
I've never listened to it, but I have seen it.
I haven't even
Literally, I
heard
love
it.
it.
Oh
Literally.
my
Literally,
It's
by
so
Rob Lowe. And it's hilarious. You get a real sense of him as a human. Like, who you think he is who he is. Like, he's just, but he interviews other major celebrities.
Okay.
And some of my favorites have been when he's interviewed like other members of the Brat Pack from back in the day.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Oh
And the
my gosh.
stories, because they'll talk, like, they just spill about some of the craziest stuff that happened in Hollywood back in the day in like the 80s and the early
Oh,
90s. And
I'm adding this to my list.
yeah,
I want to
and
know everything about St. Elmo's fire.
exactly. He talks a lot about, he had
I love that.
Demi Moore on. He's had Michael J. Fox on, which was amazing. Matthew McConaughey was one of the funniest episodes because they just take the piss out of each other back and forth the whole time. Like, it's really a great release and it's really fun and it's good for like a drive if you have like a long drive or whatever, because
Yeah.
most of them are quite long. And he talks often, and you start to like hear repetition, but he talks often about the fact that he is in this show called 911 Lone
Yeah.
Star that's set in Austin. And so I was like, well, I need a new show to watch. You know, I've just finished binging for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for the 3rd time because I'm obsessed with Marvel. I'll give 911 Lone Star a try. And I've never really gotten hooked on the first 911. It just, the timing, and now I
Yeah.
probably have to go back and watch it. But I've just finished binging 2 seasons of 911 Lone Star, and Rob Lowe is this fire captain. And he comes from New York after rebuilding his firehouse after 9/11
Oh, okay.
to rebuild a firehouse in Austin. And
Right.
characters are like, it's light. There's not like, it's easy watching. My son is
Yeah.
going to watch it. Like, I have no concerns. There's no bad
Yeah.
words. Although he did hear them say shift the other day and he was like, you said there
Oh.
were no swears. I was like, well, you're not listening because the word
He
was
said
shift.
shift.
Yeah.
You can say that.
So
Okay.
it's
Well, I was
just,
thinking
it's
right
fun.
Reno 911. So this is much different than Reno
Yeah,
911.
this is not Reno
No, this
911.
is not
Yeah.
like, this is not reality. This is like, it's all actors. It's story. It's about a firehouse with the ambulance crew, the paramedics crew. And I just love that stuff anyways. Like, I also
I
like
do too.
Chicago Fire and Chicago PD and like, yeah. So
Too.
this one
I
was
love my
like,
Chicagos.
well, and it's so funny because in it, he is Rob Lowe, maybe because his son is one of the staff writers and loves to take the, crap out of him too. On Instagram, if ever you follow
That's
Rob
the
Lowe on
best.
Instagram, his sons and their comments on his posts are the funniest things in the
yes.
world.
Yeah, they're so
So
mean.
yeah,
It's awesome.
yeah. So he's like obsessed with his hair, and he has like a 6-step skincare regimen in this show, right? Like it's just
Mm,
but it's funny. Like it's good. I really enjoyed it. And now I'm really sad
okay.
that season 3 isn't starting till January next year. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have to put it on the list because I did watch not all of, but I've watched some of the original 911 because
Mhm.
Connie Britton was in the
Love her.
first season.
Nashville. I loved the
Yes.
show
Yes, and
Nashville.
Tammy Taylor, she's Coach Taylor's wife from Friday Night
Yes.
Lights,
Yes, of
and,
course. I love
um,
that show too. I feel like I need to rewatch that one.
I wanna
So
watch it with my
good.
kids, and they're not that interested, and then my
Yeah.
husband's like, "I don't think it's a family show, really."
I can't watch it
Actually,
because it
yeah.
makes me dizzy. It does the camera jiggles.
Oh, the
I
style
cannot.
of shooting.
Yeah, it makes me
Oh,
nauseous.
interesting.
I can't watch it. And
One
my
thing we
husband loves
watched
it.
at the beginning of the pandemic, talking about family watching shows. I don't know how old your kids are.
Around
Um,
your age, 15 and
okay,
12,
okay.
and then
We watched
16 and
Lost
mhm.
at the beginning of the
Oh,
pandemic.
I'm trying to
All
get my
like
daughter to
8
watch that.
seasons. And our
Yes.
kids loved it. And it was such a great escape, like in that month of March, April, like May,
Right.
it actually lasted quite long for the 8 seasons. But they loved it. And it's not often we can get our son to sort of like engage and join us for like
Mhm.
watching things because he likes to watch shows about farms or shows about airports. And that's really it. It's
Okay.
very defined.
Yeah.
But he was into it to the point that he wants to watch the whole thing again. And I'm like, I'm not doing it
Oh,
again.
I
wow.
can't, yeah.
We had watched it. We had the DVDs. Like we watched it years ago when it was out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we got to watch it again. And it was so great. And it was good, sort of age appropriate, nothing too sexy, like,
Right.
any of that.
Yeah.
So it
A
was a
little
good one.
scary, but not, like,
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It was a good one.
I'm trying to get
Oh,
my
now
daughter to
Suzanne's
watch
frozen.
it.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Oh, no.
Hey y'all, it's Suzanne. Sorry for the interruption, but we had some technical difficulties due to the fact that I was recording from the depths of my pantry/closet in order to avoid some construction noise, but instead ended up getting disconnected and having to record the rest of the episode on Zoom on my phone. Nothing a little band-aid editing couldn't fix, but I wanted to just explain the abrupt shift here. Now back to the show.
Yay. Okay.
All
We're on
right.
apologize about that. So where did we leave off? We were talking.
Well, I was about to do my look, listen, learn.
All right. Terrific.
Okay, so speaking of Tammy Taylor / Connie Britton, I've been watching her on The White Lotus,
Oh,
which has only had like 2 episodes, I think. It's on HBO, and it kind of has that Big Little Lies vibe, like beautiful location, rich white people struggling with things that only rich white people struggle with. And it has a component of, I think it is trying to say something about where people of color are trying to exist in spaces filled mostly by white people and the ridiculousness of these people having everything at their fingertips and still struggling to figure out
Mhm.
what on earth they're doing.
Yes. Chris was actually comparing it to Downton Abbey.
It did sort of have that like upstairs, downstairs feel to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I really liked it. I mean, and Mark's in, and it's kind of hard to find things that we're both loving. And so 2 episodes in, and we're all in. We're going to finish it. It's like a limited time series on HBO. So we've been watching that. And then my learn I didn't have until today, but I learned that if there is a utensil in the disposal and you don't know it, the disposal can shoot it out. So I noticed my kids are like in charge of cleaning up the kitchen in the morning. And so they cleaned up breakfast, unloaded the dishwasher, reloaded the dishwasher, blah, blah, blah. But I noticed that they hadn't run the disposal. I could see there was food in there, but I did not see a spoon in there. So I hit the water. I turn on the garbage disposal. And had I been standing next to the sink, luckily it's far enough away that I would have been hit in the head. This
Oh my
spoon
God.
flew out and landed on the counter behind me and I had no idea that could happen.
Thank goodness.
So,
Spoon.
right, right. Yeah, not a sharp knife. But,
Right in the forehead.
right. I had no idea. Like I've had, we've all had utensils get in there before and kind of grind, whatever.
Yeah.
I've never seen it do this. So my learn is that you really, really need to check the disposal before you turn it off.
Oh my goodness. We're just going to stand back. And I say good thing it was a spoon. I had a friend who was telling me what I don't know how you tripped. Well, she tripped over the dishwasher, but I still don't know the actual physics of how this happened.
Like, was the door
But
open? And she,
so yeah, the door's open. She fell over it, but somehow she impaled herself with a spoon
ah,
in her leg.
no, that sounds horrific.
I know. And every time I walk by the dishwasher, I'm like, you're not going to get me. But part of me is like, I almost would have rather it to have been a fork. Like,
The spoon sounds really painful.
Yeah.
yes. So yeah.
I do always announce where that I have the dishwasher open because the way like people can come around the corner and not know it. So I'm always like, the dishwasher's open. Don't come barging in because you will take yourself out.
Don't impale yourself with a spoon. Yeah. The dog is victim usually of that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, no, okay. So we are actually sharing some of our lesson learned because Missy and I are just decided that we are just basic ladies, that we are doing the exact same thing.
We did a similar week.
Yeah. So we've been watching White Lotus. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
White Lotus. And then what was the other one that we also both did? Oh, the
Space Jam.
Jam.
Oh,
Not great.
no.
Not great.
Not great. Very silly. Lots of plot.
Did you go to the theater?
No.
No.
Okay.
We just
Okay.
watched it at home for family movie night where my kids
Okay.
halfway through were like, this is not good, Mom.
Good for them. Good for them. I'm calling it. Life's too short.
Was the first one any good? Because I kept on saying, maybe. Because they wouldn't have been
I don't remember. It was a big
No.
hit and it was Jordan, right? Michael
Yeah.
Jordan.
I think
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just,
I know I probably saw it, but I don't really remember it.
Oh, that's too
both my
bad.
kids just kept on asking, did LeBron James rate this as like an ad for himself? Because it's all about LeBron James, LeBron James, LeBron James. And then another
God.
thing my husband was pointing out, because it's a really flat performance, but he was in another movie, the Amy Schumer movie,
Train
and
wreck.
and he was actually a really talented natural actor. So I think this is just the writing or I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think he was working with a lot.
Yes, we don't blame LeBron for this, and I don't blame him for playing himself the whole movie. Obviously, someone else wrote it, but
Yeah.
it was kind of like Luca. Remember, I told you Luca was like, did Vespa like buy this
Right?
movie dedicated to Vespa?
Yeah.
That's kind of how this was with LeBron James. I'm like, okay, enough. We get
And Warner Brothers. It was also an ad for all other Warner Brothers like cartoons and
Yes, Casablanca was even featured. Like, it was
every Warner Brothers film made a cameo. So it was LeBron James meets Warner Brothers.
Yes.
With
I think every marketing, I think it was one of those meetings where like too many marketing heads were allowed to like,
Have
you
input.
can have this part or you can have this part. And so, the brand manager of like classics was like, okay, well, let's put in a little Casablanca.
And it was a lot of stuff that like my kids didn't like. My kids don't know Casablanca. I wish they did, but they don't.
No.
And so they would, and there was, The Matrix. My kids don't know The Matrix.
Yeah.
What is that from?
Right.
Of course, my husband was like, that's The Matrix.
We have to watch that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it went over their heads in parts too.
Yeah.
Because it just wasn't, it's not part of their world. So they were marketing to all the wrong, I know they were trying to hit parents, but they'd lost the parents by then.
Yeah. It was, well, we only made it halfway through because it was a bedtime. And so we are like, oh, darn, time for you to go to bed. We're going to watch Sopranos because that's what we only watch shows from 20 years ago now. We're watching The Sopranos and Game of Thrones. We're rewatching them. So what was my learn? Oh, yeah. My learn was basically, don't wait until July 20th to try to book an end of year getaway because you will end up, we've just kind of decided this is meh. It's meh. It's fine. It's not our house. We're paying a ton of money just to not be in our house is basically what this vacation comes down to.
Yeah.
And I am not mad about it. I am fine with it. And Bobby Colorado can hang out with the dogs and it'll be good.
Yes.
I'm so excited we got to finish this.
And now I'm hoping we can.
I will find a way to marry them together.
Yeah,
I'm
you're so
very
good at it.
curious to see who, because you guys were frozen most of the time. We may just like put a picture. We'll still post it to YouTube as far as like, I'll let y'all decide if you want the videos, but it might just be like an image shot or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe a picture from the mom camp or something, and so people don't get distracted. We had some pretty epic faces in there for a while. I don't mind me looking ridiculous, but I don't want to make y'all look ridiculous. So we'll do
ridiculous. Thank you so much for being here. We've kept you well past your hour, and I know you're a busy lady.
Well, I thank you so much for having me on. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you.
All right.
So
Thank you. Thank you for putting up with my technical difficulties.
Oh my God, I get it. I totally
appreciate it. All right. You have a nice rest of the day.
You too. Thanks.
bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us for the Mom and podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show today. And if you know someone else who could benefit from today's episode, be sure to share it with them. Also, please subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find links to all the things we discussed today in the show notes over at our website, momandpodcast.com, with the AND spelled out. In between shows, you can find us at the socials, including our private Mom and Community Facebook group. You can find links to the group, all of our socials, and our questions and comments section over at our website, momandpodcast.com. Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate you so much. Now go out there and make your ellipses count.